Hi, and welcome to another presentation from your business tutor, learning your way, anytime, anywhere. In large organisations which operate either nationally or internationally, the groupings we have looked at so far may not be sufficient for the organisation to run effectively. This does not mean that the groupings of staff we have looked at thus far are irrelevant to large organisations, but rather that they may need to work in conjunction with the grouping we are now going to explore, which is geographical, place or territory grouping of staff. So what are we going to learn in today's presentation? Well, first of all, we're going to find out what geographical, place and territory grouping of staff is, and then we're going to identify the advantages and disadvantages of geographical, place or territory grouping of staff. As you will already have noted, geographical, place and territory are interchangeable terms. However, for the ease of explanation in this presentation, we are going to use the term geographical to represent all three. So with that clarification, let's ask our first question, which is, what is geographical grouping of staff? Geographical grouping of staff occurs when an organisation allocates staff to divisions based on the areas, regions or countries they operate in. For example, as the diagram shows, in a business located in Scotland, 4 divisions may be created which serve the south, east, west and north of Scotland. Whereas in a multinational organisation, 3 divisions may be created which serve Europe, Asia and North America. As you may expect, especially when an organisation is operating globally, each division within the business has a significant amount of freedom to operate independently. This means that within each division, everything that is required to serve the customers in that area exists. As before, this tells us that each geographical division has considerable decision-making power, which allows it to run to a large degree as its own individual entity within the umbrella of the organisation's multinational structure. So with that covered, let's ask our second question. What are the advantages of geographical grouping? One of the big advantages of geographical grouping is that it shows an understanding of the concept that different customers have differing needs. It is very often the case that customers from one area have different needs to customers from another area. And as such, geographical grouping is set up to cater for those differences. This means that each division can tailor its products to meet the needs of local customers, which obviously creates loyalty and should increase sales. Of course, this customer-focused approach, coupled with divisional independence and staff expertise, allows each division to first identify and then react quickly to changes in local markets. As we know, this is incredibly important as it allows an organisation to not only provide superior service, but helps it gain competitive advantage. In fact, staff knowledge and expertise on local issues, which geographical grouping cultivates, is invaluable in delivering great service. If staff understand the language as well as the social and cultural norms that exist in their region, they are far better placed to build a strong business focused on local customers. The benefits of local knowledge and expertise don't end there, however. When an organisation operates globally, it encounters a range of rules and regulations across different countries. For example, the rules around employment, product packaging and ingredients, can differ significantly from one country to another. As such, having experts on the ground to make sure all these issues are addressed is central to ensuring a multinational complies with local laws and maintains a positive reputation. Another advantage of geographical grouping is that it is easy to identify the performance of each division. As each division operates within its own specific area, it is easy to identify the sales, costs and profits related to that division. This therefore allows an organisation not only to compare performance across divisions, but also identify trends in individual divisions from year to year. And finally, as each division has a considerable amount of independence, it helps to foster the growth of a strong culture within each division. As each division is responsible for and has control over its own performance, staff can see how their actions impact locally. This makes it far easier for management to get staff to commit, as they can see the difference they make, and this helps them feel that they belong to something. It is clear geographical grouping has several advantages, but what about the disadvantages of geographical grouping of staff? When an organisation operates globally in a range of different markets, geographical grouping is an obvious choice for a business. However, as this provides each division with a huge amount of independence, this can result in a number of issues. First, trying to maintain a single, unified culture across an organisation operating globally is incredibly challenging. However, when this is coupled with geographical grouping, the task becomes even harder. This is because, given the independence each division has, along with the fact each division may operate in a different language, time zone, and in an area with different cultural norms, trying to maintain a single, unified, global corporate culture will require a considerable amount of commitment from management. Of course, divisional independence can also create further problems around cooperation. If divisions have the capacity to operate in isolation and corporate culture does not foster cooperation, then it is unlikely to happen. This, as we already know, means that resources, expertise and research and development may not be shared across the organisation, which could limit the effectiveness of the business. In fact, this lack of divisional cooperation can result in expensive duplication, as each division ends up purchasing the same equipment and materials which could have been shared. And of course, there will also be employees in each division carrying out similar work, activities and tasks, which obviously adds to staffing costs across the organisation. For example, within each geographical division, there may be a recruitment team responsible for employing staff for that area. Having said that, it is important that we don't get carried away with this disadvantage, because unlike product service and customer grouping, we need to realise that geographical divisions are located in different areas across the planet. This means that sharing resources and equipment may be physically impossible or too costly to do, and that a division may have no alternative but to employ staff in different areas to carry out similar work, as the geographical distance between areas would make it impossible to share. A final disadvantage, which we also have to be careful not to overplay, but which can exist, is that divisions can become overly competitive with each other, especially if divisional performance is judged on sales levels and profits figures. In this instance, as discussed previously, cooperation can break down, which means expertise, resources and equipment are unlikely to be shared across the organisation. However, as before, we have to appreciate that the geographical distance between divisions may mean that they operate in completely different circumstances, which makes comparison difficult and therefore limits internal divisional competition. For example, if each division is working in a different currency and operates in different areas with varying levels of wealth, then comparison of divisional performance would be incredibly challenging. So what did we learn today? Well, first of all, we found out about geographical place and territory grouping of staff. And then we went on to explore the advantages and disadvantages of geographical place and territory grouping of staff. As we already know, geographical grouping of staff is popular amongst large organisations that operate nationally, but particularly internationally. However, as much as this is the case, it is important to realise that organisations of this scale can also group their staff in more than one way. For example, many multinationals will group their staff along geographical lines, but then within a particular geographical area will group their staff along product service lines. This approach, of course, allows an organisation to organise their staff in a way that best delivers results for their business, as one grouping may help to eliminate the weaknesses of another grouping of staff. This, in fact, is something we will explore in more detail later in this series.